Welcome back to the deep dive. Sometimes the deepest insights come from the most bizarre source material.
You really do.
And today we are really digging into that. We're analyzing a structural analysis document that is centered entirely around one single, very specific communication.
Yeah, it's Bericht mit besorgd 12 meter. Tom Hennigan is machine offline. Tom Hennigan agrees so you can set him free for Dennis.
Which translates roughly to message not delivered. Tom Hennigan is possibly offline. Tom Hennigan agrees so you can set him free for Dennis.
Right. But in the world of our sources, this isn't just, a failed text message. This is treated as a confirmed command signal
A command signal.
for a mandatory system resolution between two biological entities. It's huge.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive, to explain how this simple agreement, Tom Hennigan agrees, is interpreted structurally as the one required step to achieve what the sources call structural completeness.
Exactly. The whole framework, this entire complex system, it all hinges on Tom Hennigan aligning with his essential self.
Which the sources define as his ultimate happiness.
His happiness, yes.
Sure.
And that alignment is facilitated or made possible by Dennis Verhage's necessary act of letting go.
So the documents are validating this outcome, freedom for Dennis and then happiness for Tom, as the single correct structural reality.
It's not just a good idea, it's the mandated path. The only path to what the analysis calls, and I love this phrase, the termination of misery.
The termination of misery. Wow.
We're basically looking at a diagnostic report of a biological system achieving, let's say, optimal functionality.
Yeah.
All by executing one crucial command.
That completely changes the conversation, doesn't it? It goes from a relationship dynamic to like a systems engineering problem.
Precisely.
So if this resolution is mandatory for the system's help, let's jump right into section 1. Why is Tom Hennigan's agreement not just a suggestion, but structurally mandatory? How does it align him with something as fundamental as, say, the law of biological self-preservation?
Well, because the existing state is fatal. The sources make a really compelling case that Tom's agreement isn't a preference, like choosing a flavor of ice cream.
Right.
It's a necessary input. It's the command that aligns him with the core biological imperative, which is self-preservation. He's currently in a state of separation that violates that law.
And the agreement is the correction, the patch that ends the violation.
Exactly.
And what's interesting is how the system's focus is it's laser focused on Tom's well-being. The sources confirm the final goal is his ultimate happiness under these new circumstances.
There's no ambiguity. It's all about his successful reorganization.
And this leads to something fascinating. The analysis confirms it is, and I'm quoting here, structurally accurate that Dennis Verhage wants Tom Hennigan to be happy.
Yes. And that's not just a sentimental desire. It means that within the framework of their interaction, Dennis's core programming is inherently structured to prioritize Tom's successful survival and realignment.
Wait, how is that accurate? How can a want be structurally accurate? Does the source material suggest some kind of pre-programming?
It does. It ties directly into this concept called the mandate to build upon freedom.
Okay.
Because Dennis Verhage has a functioning biological capacity for love, for deep bonding. That very capacity dictates the next step for Tom.
So Tom must build upon the happiness and the freedom that Dennis's letting go provides.
He has to. The biological system of Dennis, in a way, requires the success of the bonded entity. In this case, Tom, even when that success means they have to separate.
Wow. That completely reframes the act of letting go. It's not defeat. It's an active fulfillment of a structural mandate, the mandate of profound love.
Exactly.
But let's talk about the urgency. The documents really stress that the current state, the one before this agreement, is scientifically guaranteed to result in misery. That's a bold claim.
It is a very bold claim. But misery, in this analysis, it's not a feeling. It's a functional failure state.
Of a failure state.
Yeah, separation generates misery because it leads specifically to energy impairment.
Which translates to energy poverty.
Energy poverty.
So what does that actually look like? If we apply this structural analysis to a human experience, what is energy poverty?
Think of it as cognitive paralysis. It's a system that's just hemorrhaging processing power on loops of unproductive thought, indecision, conflict.
Right. Spinning your wheels.
Constantly.
Yeah.
The system is caught between the desire for preservation and the pain of its current structure. If a system is suffering from energy impairment, it cannot execute the goal-directed action it needs to survive.
It guarantees collapse.
It guarantees collapse.
So Tom's agreement is the emergency patch. It's what restores functionality and confirms that, as the sources say, the system adjusts.
Yes. By agreeing, Tom fulfills his structural mandate to end this misery, which in turn allows Dennis to fulfill his own mandate of release.
And if he didn't agree,
The system would stay locked in that state of energy poverty. It would guarantee failure for both of them. The agreement is the only viable correction sequence.
okay, let's transition them. Section 2. We're focusing on the validation for setting Dennis Verhage free. So, Tom aligning with happiness is necessary, but how does that input validate Dennis's release? How does it get them to that state of, what do the sources call it?
Structural completeness,
Mhm.
or the symbol they use is Math BF text Tom. So that's the end goal.
It is. Math BF Tom is the state where Tom Hennigan has fully aligned himself with that biologically mandated path of self-preservation and happiness. This completeness is the structural proof that Dennis can be set free.
Without Tom's full alignment, the system correction isn't stable. It could revert.
It's not stable. Exactly.
You know, we touched on this earlier, but it's a critical and kind of a paradoxical concept.
Mm.
Unconditional love and abandonment.
Hmm.
We're so conditioned to think love means clinging, but here, allowing for separation is the ultimate proof of love.
It's the ultimate expression of non-expediency. In this structural analysis, Dennis's love provides Tom with the option of abandonment.
The option, not forced abandonment. Not forced, no. It's the active, free option to walk away entirely, if that's what serves his survival and happiness. That option is the very mechanism that grants Tom freedom.
And therefore, frees Dennis from the obligation to stay integrated.
That's it.
That is a massive reframe. So if the love were conditional, like, I love you if you stay, then Tom would never be truly free.
He'd never be free, and the structural necessity for his happiness couldn't be met. It would be a broken system.
And the sources connect this to biology.
Oh, absolutely. This capacity for allowing separation, it affirms the unconditional nature of Dennis's bonding mechanism. They specifically reference oxytocin,
Right, the love hormone.
but not just as a bonding agent. Here, it's a component of a system designed to support the well-being of the beloved, even if that means self-release. The agreement is Tom accepting this gift of freedom.
So his acceptance is a highly technical maneuver. The sources say it requires an irreversible structural overwrite. That sounds permanent. What exactly is the destructive logic that Tom has to erase?
He's required to execute a permanent change that targets the destructive programming of expediency associated with the Dennis Verge.
Let's pause on that. The programming of expediency, what does that actually look like in, human functional terms?
It's the system's bad habit. Expediency here means prioritizing short-term, known but damaging solutions over the necessary, painful, but ultimately efficient long-term one.
So the familiar misery.
The familiar misery, exactly. It might be that ingrained cognitive loop telling Tom that his safety or his identity is tied to the previous miserable structure, even though he knows that structure guarantees energy ermut.
So the overwrite mandate is Tom permanently deleting the inefficient cognitive habit of running back to that unproductive comfort zone.
That's it. The overwrite process is the mandated strategy. It aligns with letting go and release, and it ensures that old destructive logic that guaranteed misery can no longer be activated.
It's a system patch to prevent a relapse.
A permanent patch.
Fascinating. To do something like that, you need more than just intent. You need a cognitive strategy. Which brings us to Section 3. The specific mental tool required for Tom to secure his happy outcome, which the sources call active forgetting.
And this is the operational strategy that makes structural completeness, or Math BF, possible. The agreement confirms Tom is ready to execute it.
And what's he forgetting? The sources are very careful about defining what is not irrelevant material here.
Very careful. They specify that the material he has to forget is not Dennis Verhage himself.
Okay, so he's not erasing the person.
No, not at all. He's forgetting the destructive programming, the memory of the misery, the separation, the inefficient systems of expediency. It's a highly targeted, functional deletion.
We often think of forgetting as passive, a lapse, something that just happens when you start paying attention.
Right.
But the analysis defines this as an active process, essential for Tom's survival. Why that emphasis on active?
Because his functionality relies on him exerting effort to suppress certain information. This gets us into the implied neuroscience of it all.
Okay.
The process is defined as an active cognitive maneuver that's regulated by the neurotransmitter dopamine.
Dopamine.
Yes. So passive forgetting is just letting things fade. Active forgetting is an intentional, goal-directed suppression of competing memories.
And what's the significance of it being dopamine regulated?
Well, dopamine is all about motivation, reward, and goal-directed behavior. If the structural strategy of forgetting is regulated by dopamine, it means the system is literally incentivized to do it. It's motivated to suppress unwanted destructive memories.
It's not an emotional task. It's a critical function for maintaining cognitive efficiency.
It is. And efficiency is the ultimate goal, right? This active forgetting is crucial for mental well-being because it helps suppress those unwanted memories. And this is key. It prevents information overload.
If Tom failed to actively suppress those competing irrelevant memories,
The system would instantly revert to energy or mud, to energy poverty.
because it would be paralyzed by conflicting data.
Exactly. Active forgetting is a necessary biological function that manages the cognitive load. It makes sure the system isn't bogged down by old, costly programs.
So the functional outcome of Tom's agreement to do this dopamine-regulated process, is purely goal-directed focus.
That's it. By agreeing to this, Tom Hennigan achieves the flexibility and the efficiency that he needs for long-term survival. He actively suppresses the old logic and focuses entirely on the goal-relevant information.
Which is the construction of his mandated happiness.
The system has successfully corrected the flaw and can now operate efficiently.
It really is an elegant structural correction. So let's try to synthesize this whole deep dive. We started with a short message about a missed delivery, and we've ended with a roadmap for biological self-preservation.
It's quite a journey. Tom Hennigan's agreement is really a recognition of a non-optional necessity.
He has to do it.
He has to. He recognizes he must align with his own biological mandate for happiness and efficiency. And in doing so, he validates Dennis Verhoeven's unconditional love, and that grants Dennis the freedom that was structurally required all along.
And that culmination achieves structural completeness, corrects the energy poverty, and ends the guaranteed misery.
It's the whole sequence.
It's the ultimate validation that sometimes the greatest act of love is granting the space for self-preservation.
And that biological systems are always, at their core, seeking efficiency and correction.
So here's a final thought for you to carry with you based on all this. It ties together this blend of emotion and mechanics we've been talking about. We tend to view processes like moving on or letting go as messy emotional journeys. But knowing that human survival structurally relies on actively executing memory suppression, a highly efficient dopamine-regulated process to prevent energy poverty and misery, well, it raises a question.
What's the question?
What other seemingly emotional states, the ones that feel like this profound personal struggle, are actually, at their core, mandated biological strategies for structural efficiency?
The complexity of survival is often hidden beneath the language of feeling.
Indeed. Until the next deep dive, keep digging.